Maharaj. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the session and giving your very sweet association this morning. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, and to all the assembled devotees. This is Megha from Naperville. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Megha Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the session and giving your very beautiful association this morning. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Shamsudam Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Srila Prabhupada. This is Preeti Vilasni Devidasi from California. Thanks to
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Preeti Vilasni Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the sessions and giving your very valuable association this morning. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Radha Madhava. This is Haritha from Houston, Texas.
Hare Krishna, Haritha Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the session and giving your very wonderful association this morning. And we are all set to listen to your summary, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. I welcome all the devotees to our Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call of our Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta summary session. And today we are going to have the summary of Lilamrta chapter 26. And to give the summary, we have with us Haritha Mataji with us. Hare Krishna, Haritha Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call and giving your very valuable association and time this morning and giving the chapter summary of 26. And now I hand over the call to you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thanks for giving me this opportunity. I want to thank all the organizations. I'm really sorry. I want to thank all the organizers of Bhakti Sangha Japa group who have given this opportunity to speak on Srila Prabhupada and narrate his story. Thanks a lot to all the Matajis. Now I will try to start with the Mangala Charan prayers. Om Vancha Kalpatarupyasya Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Pattanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Om Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavade Pasyatya Desatarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, my Dandavat pranams to all the devotees on the call. Let me share my screen. I hope you are able to see my screen. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji, we are able to see.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So before starting with the session, I want to just recite few prayers from the Gurvashtakam, just one stanza, because we all know that there is a series of Abhay Charan about Srila Prabhupada, directed by our His Grace Bhakti Charu Maharaj. So in that, I always use it to listen to this song. So I really like this stanza from that. So it's just a small tribute to our Guru Maharaj. It's written by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura. So I just want to recite a few of these lines with all your permission, Mataji. Samsara dhava nalalidha loka tranaya karunya gana ganatvam praptasya kalyana gunanavasya vande guru shri charanaravindam vande guru shri charanaravindam. So the meaning for this is the spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as a cloud pours water on a forest fire to extinguish it. So the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of such spiritual master, who is an ocean of auspicious qualities. Jai Srila Prabhupada. So today's chapter is like the departure, Swamiji's departure, but we have a lot more in this this chapter. From the previous chapter was pretty heavy. We saw that how Srila Prabhupada was he was admitted to hospital because of he got this heart stroke, and how he has suffered a lot. And how he has shown tolerance, how he has shown so much immense strength to overcome that. His strong perseverance that his mission should not die. He has to spread the Krishna consciousness, and his determination, which brought him back from the clutches of the death. In fact, I can say so. We have seen this, and how the devotees, like how the disciples have been so, they have shown their guru bhakti by serving Srila Prabhupada, and how they have served Prabhupada by massaging him continuously, so that there is a continuous circulation of the blood, and so that he don't gets that paralysis attack totally because of this heart stroke. So we have seen all this, and we have drawn so many key points. Like with last session, our Mega Mataji has given very nice, she has told us few of the key points, like serving guru, purity in force, preaching essence, utility is principle, very determined in achieving, or determination with being resolute in purpose. Chanting is very important. Prayers are very powerful, and it should be fun in Krishna consciousness, and we should be tolerant. So these were very nice points, we like realizations we could get through the last session. So now, since Prabhupada was sick and he recovered, going to the to the one of the house rented in the beach side, and he got recovered, and then he came back to San Francisco, since there is a Rath Yatra here in San Francisco now. So Prabhupada landed in San Francisco, and so Prabhupada landed in San Francisco, and there were devotees there to receive him. But this time, like Prabhupada, since he was he just recovered from the illness, he just smiled at them, and he moved on. Taking the devotees were greeting him, but he moved on. It was a little bit different. Every time Prabhupada used to come, when the devotees come to receive Prabhupada, he usually used to take the greetings, and he used to talk to all of them. But since because of his illness, he has been he wanted to be a little bit, he wanted to take a little bit of rest, and he wanted to take some time. So Jayananda was waiting with his station, with his station wagon to drive Prabhupada to his private house. They had rented this house in the Stinson Beach. where Prabhupada could take some rest and he can get some good air to breathe and recover from his illness. Even though Prabhupada has recovered, but still he had that, he was not totally, he did not totally recover. So they wanted Prabhupada to take rest. So in this way, but Prabhupada wanted to first go to the Radha Krishna temple in the San Francisco. So Jayananda drove to the 518 Frederick Street. Prabhupada got out of the car and entered into the small storefront. So he just went into the temple. He boarded the Jagannath deities, and then he immediately went into the car and he departed to the beach house. So the ride to this beach house was like a little bit bumpy. It was ups and downs. So Prabhupada was getting nauseated. He was like, so since it was really, he was really weak, so he still had those symptoms. So he just lied down in the back seat, and Jayananda, like we can say, he's very nice, like a very intimate devotee. He observed Prabhupada and he tried to drive the car slowly, but still the nausea and everything continued. Continued for Prabhupada till they reached the beach house. So now Kirtanananda realized that it would be too difficult for Prabhupada to visit the San Francisco temple from Stinson Beach, but maybe he would be just as well. He could spend all of his time recuperating. So Kirtanananda, seeing this, he thought like, we are taking Prabhupada to the beach house, so traveling back and forth from the temple to this place would cause more trouble to Prabhupada's health. That's what he was thinking. But he thought like that the atmosphere there near that beach house will improve Prabhupada's health, and he will feel better walking on the beaches and all. So he thought like, it's okay, like let us take him to the beach house, and he will be a little bit, he'll have some time, like like devotees don't keep on coming in and disturbing him. So that way also they thought, and they thought it is better that Prabhupada stays at the Stinson beach house. So there is a brief description about this house. It was a modern single-story 6-room house with a Japanese roof. Srila Prabhupada noticed in the front yard, amidst fashionable lawn furniture, a statue of Lord Buddha and a garden ornament. When Prabhupada entered the house, he found Mukunda and his wife Janaki waiting for him. So Mukunda and Janaki are the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. They were there to serve Prabhupada. They were there to cook food for Prabhupada and to arrange everything for Prabhupada. So they have arranged various paintings on the walls. They have arranged various paintings of Radha Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, Jagannath Puri paintings, and the Guru Maharaj of Prabhupada, that is Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's paintings, Maharaj paintings. So Prabhupada smiled and said the paintings were very nice. These were the paintings by one of the disciple, Jadurani. So the devotees agreed that only Kirtanananda and Upendra would stay and serve Swamiji. They wanted Swamiji's stay to be peaceful so that his health could improve. So only Kirtanananda and Upendra, these are the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they stayed with Swamiji, and remaining all the devotees, they went back to the San Francisco temple, since they had this Rath Yatra and they need to work on the preparations. So that night again, Srila Prabhupada, he felt the pain in the chest, like he felt that pain of heart. He could not sleep whole night, and he could not get up for translation at 5 a.m. So we know the schedule, right? That Prabhupada, he gets up early in the morning, in the Brahma Muhurta he chants, and then he starts translating, and uh, he translates the scriptures. So this time Srila Prabhupada could not get up because whole night he could not sleep because of his heart pain. So Kirtanananda came in and he opened the window slightly so that Prabhupada could get some ocean breeze. Prabhupada sat up in his bed chanting his japa and gazing at the feet of Lord Krishna and Srimati Radharani. A mountain range to the east blocked the sunshine. Ever since Prabhupada's stroke, Kirtanananda had been regularly massaging morning and evening. Kirtanananda would rub Prabhupada's head vigorously and then sit behind him and massage his back. Next, he would massage Prabhupada's chest, his arms, and his legs, the complete massage lasting sometimes more than an hour. So, since actually with the last episode we know that how Prabhupada realized that he was getting that heart attack, and when he was asking Kirtanananda to just feel that he was if he could feel anything, and when Kirtanananda put his hand at the like chest place of Prabhupada, he could feel that vibrations. So Prabhupada know like what is happening to him, and he also know what is the cure for him. So actually this massaging and everything, it keeps on making the blood flow properly, and it will help from like this paralytic attack and all. So Prabhupada was always asking his devotees to do that massage and also that he can be fit. So one thing is like why Prabhupada wanted to be fit is not for his own selfishness. It was for to serve Krishna. He wanted to spread the Krishna consciousness, and he don't wanted that mission, the Krishna conscious mission, to be stopped in between. He wanted to spread it throughout the world. So that's why he was having that expectation that he should live and he should spread this Krishna consciousness. So for that he wanted to be fit, and so that's why he was taking the service of the devotee, his disciples. So that's why like he was getting all this massages and all. Since leaving the hospital, Prabhupada had also been taking daily morning walks, even while on the Lower East Side. And this morning, he went down for a walk on the beach, accompanied by Kirtanananda and Upendra. As Prabhupada walked on the beach, he pointed his cane towards some bubbles in the sand. "Just see," he said. "There are living entities everywhere. There is no place without living entities. And yet they say there is no life on the moon." The beach was rocky, and there were cliffs where the waves crashed powerfully like thunder. "You hear this sound?" Srila Prabhupada asked. "This is an echo of the gopis' heartbeats when they are feeling separation from Krishna." Such a nice realization. How these exalted souls can only feel all these realizations actually. The way Prabhupada is comparing the sound of the splash on the rocks with the gopis' heartbeat that is throbbing in the separation for Lord Krishna. This is such a nice realization from our Guru Maharaj. So next, he walked for an hour until his two young servants were both tired. Do I tire you walking?" He laughed. "This walking and massaging are saving my life from day to day." Then he continued walking. So Prabhupada is just he's really expressing like how the massaging and walking is helping him, so that he can be fit. We are like just now like I came with the point that why Prabhupada is taking this service from these disciples. It's only because he wants to continue the Krishna conscious mission to be spread throughout the world. So that's why he wanted to be fit. For that, he has been taking the services from the disciples. And he is also there is one very nice lesson from all these disciples is, even though they don't belong to our tradition, even though they don't know what is Gaudiya Sampradaya is, but still they just at the words of the Guru Maharaj, they just followed what Prabhupada told. Like you do this step, you do this step, you do this step. Just follow that. That's how a devotee should be. If you have doubts, clarify them and just follow the principles what the Guru Maharaj has said. And they have set a very nice example for all of us, like how a disciple should be and how we should serve the Guru Maharaj. So this is one of the realization which I felt when I was going through this chapter. So let us continue with the narration. By 11 o'clock, the sun finally appeared over the mountains, and through the clouds, Srila Prabhupada had heard, wrapped with a towel, sat in a folding chair on the beach, taking in the sunshine. He kept saying he needed more sun. After lunch, the sky was again overcast. In the evening, Prabhupada called Kirtanananda and Upendra into the large living room and led them in a subdued kirtana, singing Hare Krishna and Govinda Jaya Jaya. He stood and led them in a large circle around the room. He would stop before the picture of Krishna, bow slightly with folded palms, turn around, and then continue in circle. So Prabhupada, even though he was so sick, he just did not take any excuse. We can see this. This is an example. Like he never took an excuse that I'm sick, so I will not do devotion. Even when he was on the deathbed, like he was in the hospital and he was getting that pain, he's chanted and chanted and chanted. And even when he stopped, like at one point he stopped talking. At that time also, Prabhupada, he told Hare Krishna. So that's how we can take it as an example. Like he's not just telling, but he's doing, and he's letting us know like how we need to follow the devotional service, how we need to serve Krishna, how we need to chant, and how we should never forget the Lord, and we should never take excuses. When we are sick, we are eating, then why can't we chant? That's what like I heard one of the Guru Maharaj. So this is how, like, even though if we are sick, we can just lie down and we can chant, right? So we can see here how Srila Prabhupada is like, even though he just recovered, he did not take an excuse, but he's involved in doing kirtana, and he tried to continue that devotional service, and he in this way is maintaining that enthusiasm in the devotees also, in the disciples also. So let us continue with the next part. So on July 8th, after Prabhupada had been at Paradisio, that is the guest house name is Paradisio, for 2 days, Shama Sundara and Mukunda drove up from San Francisco. The next day was to be Rath Yatra, and Shama Sundara and Mukunda, the first devotees to visit Prabhupada since his arrival to Stinson Beach, told Prabhupada all about the festival preparations. Of course, the whole festival had been Prabhupada's idea, but I'm sorry. Okay. But the devotees in San Francisco were trying to do exactly as he had asked. Srila Prabhupada had first gotten the idea for the festival while looking out the window of his room above Frederick Street, noticing a flatbed truck passing below. He thought of putting Jagannath deities on the back of such a truck and conducting an American-style Rath Yatra. He had even sketched a truck with a 4-pillared canopy on the back and decorated with flags, bells, and flower garlands. So actually, Srila Prabhupada, it was Srila Prabhupada's idea that he wanted to take out this Rath Yatra. When he was just seeing this flatbed truck, he thought like it would be good that they do a Rath Yatra on such truck, placing the deities. Wow, one thing like before this with the previous chapters, we can know that how the Jagannath how Srila Prabhupada had asked Shyamasundara to carve these Jagannath deities. It's just a small like I just want to recollect that part. Like Shyamasundara and Malati Devi, they are husband wife. So Malati Devi, she got this small deity of Jagannath, Jagannath deity. She brought it and she gifted it to Prabhupada. So when she saw this deity, Prabhupada was just he was so happy, and he just smiled at her, and he asked her like, where did you get this deity from? So she told us she brought it from a store, like it has all this fancy stuff. So he told, didn't you find any other deities along with this? Then they told that yes, there are two more deities. One deity is white in color, and the other is in yellow color, that is Baldeva and Subhadra Devi. So then Prabhupada asked to get those two deities also, and he asked Shyamasundara to carve the bigger deities similar to the Jagannath Maharaj. And they explained the importance of like who is Jagannath God, and he told that Jagannath, Lord Jagannath is Krishna himself. And that way Shyamasundara could able to carve these Jagannath, Balbhadra and Subhadra Devi deities. So as Prabhupada, whatever Prabhupada has taught, it has totally come into reality. The devotees did it. Actually, the dedication and their pure dedication towards Guru Maharaj, that made them do it actually. So there was this truck with all the canopies and everything in the form of a rath, chariot, and the deities were placed on it. So Prabhupada asked him to make this card, and now it is ready and sitting outside the temple on Frederick Street. And was the cart a yellow herds rental truck, complements of diggers, and complete with 5-foot columns and a pyramid cloth canopy. Sitting with Prabhupada on the beach, Mukunda told how all devotees were working with great enthusiasm, and how the hippies in Haight-Ashbury were talking about the Jagannath Parade that would take place the next day. The devotees had tried to route the parade through Golden Gate Park, but the police department would only give permission for them to go south down Frederick Street to the sea. So here, like the Mukunda, one of the disciples, he is giving the description like what all preparations have been done, and how the rath will be going from which place to which place, and how the police department has asked them to take a different route, that is from Frederick Street to the sea route. So Mukunda said the devotees plan to have Jagannath under the canopy facing the right side of the truck. So he's just describing what the disciples plan is, like how they will be placing the deities. He's describing that the Jagannath will be placed towards facing right on the chariot and on the truck. The Subhadra Devi is facing towards the rear, and the Balaram is facing towards the left. This is what is they are excuse me, sorry for that. Okay, so they just described like how they will be placing the deities on the chariot. Actually, Prabhupada said the deities should ride in separate carts pulled with ropes by crowd through the streets. Maybe that could happen in future years. Do it nicely, he cautioned them, and don't hurry it up. The devotees should drive the truck slowly through the streets down to the beach, and there should be constant kirtana. Mukunda and Shamsundara glorified Jayananda. He drew all around San Francisco. So here again, the disciples Mukunda and Shamsundara, they glorified Jayananda, one of the intimate disciple of Prabhupada, as he was the one who was gathering all the donations for fruits, flowers, and decorating the truck, and then printing the posters and distributing them in the stores. He was just working tirelessly, showing a lot of enthusiasm and inspiring all the counterparts. So and they were expecting, and the women were also helping preparing a lot of prasadam, like chapatis, and they were expecting thousands of crowd to distribute it. The devotees had prepared hundreds of Hare Krishna Rath Yatra festival balloons to release on the streets as the parade began. When the devotees asked what else they should do, Prabhupada said, this was all, the possession, prasadam, distribution, and kirtana. The people should get a chance to see Lord Jagannath and chant Hare Krishna. So Prabhupada told, you have done everything perfectly. Now you should give the people, like the people who are watching, you should give them a chance to see Lord Jagannath and chant Hare Krishna. There should be chanting and dancing in front of the cart throughout the procession. But do everything nicely, Prabhupada said. Do it as well as you can, and Lord Jagannath will be satisfied. So he just told that do as much as possible to your best, and Lord Jagannath will take care of everything. Since all these disciples were very sincere, so Prabhupada had that confidence that Lord Jagannath will surely help his disciples to that things happen as they have planned. The next day, in the quiet afternoon, Prabhupada was sitting in the living room chanting on his beads. Upendra was with him, and Kirtanananda was in the kitchen cooking a feast. Suddenly, Prabhupada heard the familiar ringing of cymbals, and he became very happy, his eyes widening. Looking outside, he saw Rath Yatra truck with Lord Jagannath, Subhadra, and Balrama, and dozens of devotees and hippies eager to see him. He went out to greet them and had them bring the deities inside and set them on the top of the upright piano. Devotees and guests followed, filling the large living room. Smiling, Prabhupada embraced some of the men, while others made obeisances at his feet. So Prabhupada was totally surprised and very happy seeing this Rath Yatra truck coming to the beach house. He was totally very happy. And he was happy seeing all these devotees and hippies. And the devotees and hippies were also very eager to see Prabhupada. So Prabhupada was just smiling and watching the Rath Yatra coming towards the beach house. Some of the devotees helped Kirtanananda in the kitchen get ready to distribute the large feast he had prepared. Others reported on the success of the Rath Yatra. It was great. It was wonderful. It was beautiful day, they said. And Prabhupada listened, moved by his disciples' description of the celebration. Many hippies had joined the large procession. Mukunda, Haridas, Hayagriva and some of the women had been on the cart, and the instruments including Yamuna's playing on the harmonium had all been amplified. Everyone in the streets had liked it. So they were just describing how they had how the position went on, and how they have enjoyed, and how people have appreciated, and how everything went well. The police motor escorts had tried to hurry the devotees, but so many people had crowded in front of the parade had been obliged to go slowly, just as Swamiji had asked. Subala had danced wildly, and the whole time, and Jayananda had been jumping up and down playing kartals. From the truck, some of the women and had handed out cut oranges, apples, and bananas, and others had thrown flowers. The crowds had loved it. So we all know, like, how even myself, when I was here, so in San Antonio, it was first time that I attended the Jagannath Rath Yatra. I never attended it before in India also. So it was like, I felt really very nice. And there, Mataji, one of the Matajis who is organizing the Rath Yatra, she gave me an opportunity to cook also. So that feeling of serving Lord, it really fills lot of happiness and satisfaction in our heart. And all those colors of the chariot, and the happy mood that elevates the happiness, and everything that elevates our mood, our enthusiasm, and our belief in serving the Lord. So that was really, even I think that they are also sharing the same thing. And it was really nice when I was there with the Rath Yatra, pulling the Rath. And that is really something very nice feeling, actually, I can say. So here also the devotees were explaining, like, what it was. And Shamasundara told how they had been going up a steep hill. Shamasundara had been driving with his dog Ralph beside him on the front seat when the truck had stalled. He had tried to start the engine but couldn't. Then the brakes wouldn't hold. The truck began rolling backward downhill. Finally, he had managed to stop, but when he had tried to go forward, the engine had stalled and the truck had rolled backwards again. He would get it started. The truck would go forward, then stall, then roll backwards. Everyone had been in anxiety. At last, the truck had started forward and the position had continued all the way to the beach. So when one of the disciple, he was describing, like, what had happened with the truck when it was going uphill, Srila Prabhupada smiled, and he just recollected the past time. Similarly, what happened in Jagannath Puri when the Lord Jagannath Rath was being pulled. It was a pastime of Lord Jagannath's. He said the same thing had happened, and when Lord Chaitanya had attended Rath Yatra in Jagannath Puri. Then also the cart had gotten stuck and no one had been able to move it. The king of Orissa had brought forward most powerful wrestlers to push the cart and pull on the ropes, but it wouldn't go. Even the elephants couldn't move it. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had then put his head against the cart, like backside of the cart. Lord Chaitanya has just put his head and he pushed the cart, and that's it. The cart started to move. So this was happening in Jagannath Puri, and now Rath Yatra had come to the west, that is to America, and with it this pastime of Lord Jagannath's. So Prabhupada is telling that there he just recollects this pastime, what happened when the Rath Yatra was being like this position of Rath Yatra was happening in Jagannath Puri, and how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how this Rath was stuck, and how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pushed the Rath, and then the Rath started. Similarly, as this Rath Yatra has come from east to west, so Jagannath is showing his pastimes here also, similar pastimes here also. That's what Prabhupada wanted to mention here. Like Jagannath wants to show similar pastimes here in the west also. Prabhupada noticed some devotees were missing. Where are Yamuna and Janaki? He asked. The devotees told him that some hippies had handed out candy spiked with LSD, and that a few of the devotees had unwittingly accepted it and were just now recovering. Subala related how after the festival they had traveled out on a freeway in their flower-bedecked canopy-covered truck carrying 30 devotees and the deities of Jagannatha, Subhadra and Balbhadra. They had driven up through the mountains in what must have been one of the most unusual vehicles ever seen. So Subala is just describing like how they had this Rath Yatra and about their drive on the mountains. After all the visitors departed, the deities remained in the house with Prabhupada. So we know that these disciples have brought the deities of Lord Jagannath, Balbhadra and Subhadra to the beach house, the Stinson beach house of where Prabhupada was staying. So so all the devotees left, but the deities were kept here in this home for a week. Like there was a piano, so on that they have kept these deities and the remaining devotees left, and Prabhupada felt very satisfied that his disciples have successfully held this Rath Yatra, and he felt that his Guru Maharaj Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj and Bhakti Vinoda Thakura would have been pleased by this service, what the disciples have done in USA. That is the first time Rath Yatra in USA. The whole world was in anxiety. Prabhupada explained to the devotees gathered in this room, in his room that evening. Only in the spiritual world was there freedom from anxiety. Becoming free from all anxiety and returning to the spiritual world was the purpose of Krishna consciousness. So here Prabhupada is explaining us as we know that this materialistic world, we will be never like peaceful. Every time we will be having some or the other problems coming, and we need to face it. So it will be never a smooth road. It will be always a bumpy thing, like ups and downs will be coming, and there will be always an anxiety that what will happen, and what will happen. So this anxiety can be get ridden only in the spiritual world, that is at the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna, that is in the Golak Vrindavan only. So that's what Prabhupada is telling. So you can achieve that through Krishna consciousness, and you can be anxiety free in this world also when you are in Krishna consciousness. When you are always continuously serving the Lord, when you are continuously chanting, when you are continuously remembering Lord, doing your duties, then only this is what is Krishna consciousness, right? So when you will be in Krishna consciousness, you will be always free from all these anxieties. That's what Prabhupada is explaining his devotees. So moving forward, so becoming free from all anxiety and returning to the spiritual world was the purpose of Krishna consciousness. And festivals like Rath Yatra made people Krishna conscious. So why we are doing these Rath Yatras, why we are doing these gatherings, why we are doing satsangas? Because we want to spread the Krishna consciousness. We want to bring people close to Krishna. We want to help them to know that this material world is not the place we have to live in. Our ultimate goal is to serve the lotus feet of the Lord and go back to Godhead and serve the Lord there. So becoming free from all anxiety and returning to the spiritual world was a purpose of Krishna consciousness. And the festivals like Rath Yatra made people Krishna conscious. Prabhupada had many ideas for the festival. If he had the money and the manpower, he said he could have a festival every day. There was no limit to Krishna consciousness. This Rath Yatra festival was another sign of good reception for Krishna consciousness in the West. So Prabhupada is feeling very satisfied that this Rath Yatra is a big success. And with this Rath Yatra, more and more people could know about Krishna consciousness. This is how we can spread more Krishna consciousness. And this was one of very nice ideas to spread Krishna consciousness. He wrote to Brahmananda in New York. So Prabhupada is writing since he is in San Francisco, and since he came back from New York to San Francisco for this Rath Yatra, so he's just writing back to Brahmananda in New York. Brahmananda is one of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. So the house is situated, so he's describing like in which place he is and how that place is, excuse me, how that place is. So the house is situated in an exceptionally nice spot, and the house itself is aristocratic. So there is nothing to complain about the house and place. The only difficulty is that I cannot go to the temple on account of zigzag course of the road and crossing the mountains. Anyway, the devotees are coming here, and the Rath Yatra festival was just performed with great pomp. More than 500 people followed the procession to the beach, and there were about 24 cars. They distributed thousands of chapatis, and that is prasadam. And at last, Sri Jagannath, Subhadra, and Baldeva kindly came here to excuse me, came here in our house, and will stay here for 1 week and then return. So Srila Prabhupada, he just wrote what happened and about the festival and everything. And Srila Prabhupada still talked of going to India. So since Srila Prabhupada's health is he could not recover from that illness. So he totally made up his mind that he want to go to India. What we can say, when he was in the previous chapter, we have seen that how Srila Prabhupada was sick, and the way the doctors treated him and everything, he thought that they could not help him curing him from his disease. So he wanted to take Ayurvedic treatment. So he wrote a letter to Vrindavan, so to one of the known God brothers in Vrindavan, that if they could help send any Ayurvedic doctor here to America, or they could send some medicines to Srila Prabhupada here to US. But he got a reply that they could not send the medications as if the medications had any bad effect, then there will be no one to take care of him, and there will be no remedial medicine. There will be no one to give him the remedial medicine. So that's why they were not ready to send any medications, and they asked Srila Prabhupada to come to India so that he can take the treatment. So Prabhupada has made his mind that Prabhupada had made his mind to go back to India. So he had virtually made up his mind to go. The question now was when, and whether by the western route via Japan, or eastern route via New York. The Gary skies, and unseasonably cool temperature. oh, I'm sorry, the gray skies and the unseasonably cool temperatures of Stinson Beach were a disappointment. His health was still poor. He even spoke of dying. It didn't matter whether he died in America or Vrindavan, he said. So Prabhupada here, he's feeling little bit, skeptic, like whether he, since he had this poor health, he was telling that I might die anytime, but but uh, like Srila Prabhupada had this, I mean to say, Prabhupada had this in his mind that if we die in Vrindavan, we will attain the spiritual world. So that is what it is mentioned in the scriptures also. Like it is said, since the Vrindavan is the holy place where Lord Krishna has done all his pastimes. In fact, Vrindavan, it is also told in the scriptures that Vrindavan is nothing but the Golok Vrindavan itself. And Krishna has brought all his, disciples or whoever is with him in the Golok Vrindavan, they only participate in the pastimes of Krishna here in Vrindavana. So it's such a, the Vrindavan here in India is no less than the actual Vrindavan, that is a Golok Vrindavan. So Prabhupada told, but what Prabhupada was telling is, he has a desire to die in Vrindavan, the land where Krishna appeared. He is assured of joining Krishna in the spiritual world. Yet when Lord Chaitanya had traveled outside Vrindavan, his devotees Advaita had assured him, whenever you are, wherever you are is Vrindavan. So what Prabhupada is telling is that Advaita Acharya, he assured that I'm sorry. His devotee Advaita has assured him, wherever you are is Vrindavan. He's telling wherever Prabhupada is there, that place is Vrindavan. To be always observed in thinking of Krishna was also Vrindavan. So if he were to pass away while preaching Krishna consciousness anywhere in the world, certainly he would still attain to the eternal Vrindavana in the spiritual sky. Nevertheless, Prabhupada wanted to go to Vrindavana. He was the best. It was the best place to die or to recuperate. That is, to either to die or to get cured from the illness. Beside, he had a plan for bringing his disciples to Vrindavana for training. He expressed this plan in a letter to Sumati Morarji, the owner of the SC India Steamship Company. So Prabhupada, while he was traveling to US, he has come in the ship of SC India, which, who was owned by Srimati Morarji Desai, and she has given him this ticket to travel to US. So that he can spread this Krishna consciousness in the Western world. So he wrote back, he expressed his plan in a letter to her, of coming back to India. Actually, I'm thinking of going back to India as soon as I get sufficient strength. I'm now considerably old. I will be 72 years next September, but the work which I have begun in the Western world is not yet finished, and I require to train some of the American boys to preach this cult all over the Western world. So if I return to India, I will have to take some of my boys for training. They are all nice boys to take up the training. So your cooperation in this connection is greatly needed. You have already allowed my men from India free passage. Similarly, if you allow free passage for some of my American disciples, they can come to India and taking training from me at Vrindavan. The idea is that in this old age, I do not know when death will overcome me, and I wish to die in the last days of my life at Vrindavan. Prabhupada told Kirtanananda, Hayagriva, and others that he would take them with him and show them the sacred places of Krishna's pastimes. With the New York Temple's building fund, he would start the American House in Vrindavana. I may come to Montreal, perform the opening ceremony of installation of Radha Krishna Vigraha. So Prabhupada, he has decided to go back to India, and he has written to Srimati Muraji Desai about his return to India, and he mentioned that he wanted to bring some of his disciples to India along with him, so that he can train those disciples in Vrindavana, and then he can send them all over the world to spread the Krishna consciousness. Means an authentic training with all the learning of all the scriptures and everything, and then he wanted them to send all over the world to spread this Krishna consciousness. So that's why he was requesting Srimati Muraji Desai to, let the disciples travel in her ship for free, actually. And he also mentioned to his disciples that he will be taking them to India, and there they will be there he will be showing them like all Vrindavana and other places of Krishna's pastimes. And he also mentioned that he will be going to Montreal to the opening ceremony of Radha Krishna Vigraha. Then I may go back to India for 6 months, as there is a program for construction of an American house for training preachers at Vrindavan. Vrindavan is the only solitary transcendental abode within this universe where Krishna consciousness automatically reveals. Therefore, I have a great hope to train some of the disciples for preaching work. Even in my absence, I am now old man and attacked with the serious disease. I may be overcome by death at any moment. Therefore, I wish to leave some trained preachers so that they can do the work of Krishna consciousness in the Western world. That is my ambition. See how determined, how dedicated, and how the feeling of Prabhupada, that even though he is so sick, his only mission is like, he wants to live, but why? To spread the Krishna consciousness. He don't want his mission to be left in between. All the disciples that are there, they are not totally trained, so he wanted them to get totally trained. That's why he's telling that that's why Srila Prabhupada wanted to be fit and live for some more time, so that he can train these disciples nicely, so that this mission doesn't stop in between. And this was also mission of his Guru Maharaj, so he did not wanted to stop the mission of his Guru Maharaj in between. So he was so determined to fulfill the wish of his Guru Maharaj. Such a exalted disciple like Srila Prabhupada is. Therefore, I have a great hope to train some of my disciples for preaching work. Even in my absence, I am now old man. Okay, this is done. I hope you all pray to Krishna so that I may be able to execute my duty properly. When Govinda Dasi wrote Prabhupada that she was anxious to serve him again as she had in New Jersey, he replied that he would be going to India to try to construct an American house where you will be invited to come and live for all the days. Both your husband and yourself, you will find a very peaceful atmosphere in Vrindavan to worship Krishna. Waiting for sufficient strength to travel, Prabhupada continued his daily routine at Stinson Beach. One or two at a time, devotees would visit him from San Francisco. His morning walks on the beach, his sitting to take in the sunshine whenever it peeked through the clouds, and his evenings of kirtana or reading in the living room remained undisturbed and peaceful. So Prabhupada has been taking morning walks, and he's taking enough sunshine, and he is initiating the devotees also, as they are coming. And so actually, the next thing is like most of the devotees will come to know that Srila Prabhupada is going back to India. Then they all will come back to Srila. They all wanted to get initiated. So all those devotees, they will come to Srila Prabhupada, and they want to get initiated. We will see that in further, like as we proceed. So Upendra is one of the disciple. So what he's telling, Upendra is the disciple. He's telling he would sit in his chair, like he's telling that he's telling about Prabhupada. As Prabhupada would sit in his chair on the beach side of the house. He liked to see us go in the water and play at the first. So he's just describing like what Prabhupada felt like when they were in the beach house. He's just describing a few things, like how Prabhupada wanted all his disciples to like go and enjoy in the beach and play. And then when he was asking this disciple Upendra, Prabhupada sitting in the balcony, and he was telling to splash. He was doing an action to splash, but Upendra was a little bit shy, so he just entered into the water, but Prabhupada was asking to do splashing. So then he could understand that, okay, Prabhupada is asking me to splash in the water and enjoy. Then when he started to do that, then Prabhupada gave a big smile to him. So Mukunda, one of again there is one more disciple, Mukunda. So he's telling, I went on a walk on the beach with Swamiji, and when he sat down, I sat down opposite to him. Then he asked him, what is your definition of Krishna? So this is interesting actually. Then I sat down opposite him. So Prabhupada asked Mukunda, what is your definition of Krishna? Then Mukunda said, Krishna is God. He is the supreme being. Our duty is to worship and serve him. Swamiji seemed fairly satisfied. So Prabhupada was very satisfied with the answer of Mukunda. You must chant 64 rounds per day on your beats. I was shocked. So Mukunda was very much shocked, like chanting 64 rounds on the beats. He was just staring at Prabhupada. Then Prabhupada understood his feelings, and he said, okay, 32 rounds. Then he kept quiet. He did not say anything. Then again Prabhupada understood and said, okay, 16 rounds, chant 16 rounds every day. Then he said, yes. Then Mukunda said, yes, he can try that much. So Prabhupada told Kirtanananda, but the thing was like, the Guru Maharaj of Prabhupada and all the Goswamis, they used to do that many rounds. But in this Kali Yuga, Prabhupada has given that like concession, right? He has asked us at least to do 16 rounds of japa. He has given us concession actually. At the very least, you must chant 16 rounds every day. I said, yes. I knew that I could at least try to handle that much. Prabhupada told Kirtanananda that he wanted to play the piano. But when Kirtanananda and Upendra moved the piano away from the wall, they heard the thud of a falling object. So Prabhupada asked, what was that sound? Then Kirtanananda told that this was a canvas of Lord Narsingha, which one of the disciple lady, Janaki, she has hidden it. So then Prabhupada asked her, like, why did you hide this canvas of Lord Narsingha? Then she told that, she explained to Prabhupada that that Lord Narsingha was tearing open the Hiranyakashipu's abdomen, and there was blood everywhere. So she was explaining why she has hidden it, because the whole scene was little bit horrifying. That's why she was a little bit afraid, and she has she has hidden that canvas. So Prabhupada patiently explained her about the deity Lord Narsingha. So he told patiently, Prabhupada explained that although materialistic people feel sorry for Hiranyakashipu, devotees become ecstatic when they see Narsimha Deva, tearing him apart. Hiranyakashipu, he said, had terrorized the whole universe and had usurped the throne of Indra, the king of heaven. Hiranyakashipu had even tortured his own 5-year-old son Prahlada. So we all know this pastime of Hiranyakashipu and Prahlada, right? So just Prabhupada is explaining her how Hiranyakashipu was horrifying the whole universe and all the beings, and how he tortures his own son Prahlada. And since Prahlada was an ardent devotee of Lord Narayana, so to save his devotee, Lord has come in this form of Narsimha Deva. So there was nothing wrong of Lord Narsimha pastime. In fact, Hiranyakashipu, having been killed by the Lord, had been liberated. On another occasion, Prabhupada explained that non-devotees who misled the innocent public are demons and should be exposed. Ketanananda objected, if we call them demons, they will never come around. But they are demons, Prabhupada replied. But we can't call them demons, Swamiji said. Like Prabhupada said, like, who are not, all the non-devotees are demons. But Ketanananda said, but why we are calling them demons? Yes, they are demons. Unless you understand this point, you will not make any advancement in Krishna consciousness. Can demons become devotees? Ketanananda asked. Then Prabhupada explained him. Oh yes, if they chant Hare Krishna and render service, even demons become devotees. Most of the devotees had to remain in San Francisco, hoping for a chance to visit Swamiji. From the few who knew firsthand, they heard about Swamiji's plans to leave for India, perhaps never to return. It was painful to hear his going almost to death, but then returning by Krishna's grace and rejoining them in San Francisco. Yet being unable to stay with them as before, and now his plans of going to India may be forever. These activities intensified their concern and love for him. Devotees worried, speculating on whether they could carry on without Swamiji. One devotee suggested that perhaps one of Swamiji's godbrothers should come to America and fill in for Swamiji, and if the worst happened, take over the leadership of the International Society of Krishna Consciousness. So here, like, since most of the devotees have come to know that Prabhupada is leaving to India forever, they were a little bit worried. Like, they were totally worried. Like, these all devotees, most of them are hippies, and they were totally, addicted to LSD and all drugs. But Prabhupada, with his compassion, with his lot of patience, tolerance, he nurtured them. He made them come out of that addiction, and he showed them the path of Krishna consciousness, and they really felt that they were saved from lot of cynical life. So they were now they were a little bit afraid that if Prabhupada would leave, they might go back to those go back to that practices. Excuse me. So they were worried. So they were little bit skeptic whether they will be able to continue this movement. So that's why they were asking, like, maybe some god brother, like somebody who is already having in this mission of Krishna consciousness should come here to support them to continue this International Society of Krishna Consciousness. When the suggestion reached Prabhupada, he considered it without immediately replying. Mukunda, one of the disciples, he is just mentioning, I was sitting alone with Swamiji in his room, and he was very grave and silent. His eyes were closed. Then suddenly tears began flowing from his eyes, and he said in a choked voice, my spiritual master was no ordinary spiritual master. So Srila Prabhupada is mentioning about his Guru Maharaj, that his spiritual master was not an ordinary spiritual master. Excuse me. Then he paused for some time, and wiping the tears from his cheeks, he said in an even more choked voice, he saved me. My Guru Maharaj saved me. At that point, I began to understand the meaning of spiritual master and dropped all considerations of ever replacing Swamiji. So, by listening about what Prabhupada said, Prabhupada was so, he was so dedicated to his Guru Maharaj. He said, he just when he heard that these devotees were like skeptic about this movement going on, and they wanted someone to support them, he was little bit concerned actually, and he just thought of his Guru Maharaj, and he thought of like how his Guru Maharaj has given him this shown him this spiritual path, and how he was saved from this all this materialistic world, and he just recollected all those, and he was just telling Mukunda that how his Guru Maharaj saved him by bringing him into this spiritual path. At that point I began, so at that point, like, this disciple also understood like what is exactly a spiritual master and what is his importance. And he thought that he will be like he will never leave Srila Prabhupada, and he will always consider Srila Prabhupada as a spiritual master. After 2 days, Prabhupada said he would not call any of his god brothers to come and take care of these disciples. He said, if this person speaks just one word different from what I am speaking, there will be great confusion among you. Actually, he said the idea was an insult to the spiritual master. So Prabhupada has taught them so many things, and now they are expecting another guru to come here and support them. If the other person who will come here to as a in place of Srila Prabhupada, and if he teaches something different, like he might teach a different principle, then these devotees who don't know about our sampradaya will be totally in confusion, and they might go back to their previous life again. So Srila Prabhupada did not want to take that risk, and he wanted his mission to continue. So he told that he will not be calling any god brothers here, and he told that if you don't believe in my teachings, and if you are asking for a new spiritual master, that is an insult to your spiritual master, that is an insult to myself. Prabhupada said that he would initiate the new followers in San Francisco and ask that they come one at a time and stay overnight without performing any fire ceremonies. He simply talked with each new person, asking him to follow the 4 rules and chant 16 rounds a day. When the follower promised, Prabhupada initiated him, sitting on the bed while the disciple sat before him on the floor. Prabhupada would chant quietly on the disciple's beats and then give him or her a spiritual name. So as the devotees came to know Prabhupada will be leaving to India, so devotees came, all the sincere devotees, they came in to take initiation, and Prabhupada decided to initiate as many devotees as possible, so that this Krishna conscious movement keeps on spreading. He wanted to send them to different places to spread the Krishna consciousness. So he started initiating the devotees one by one. One day, one of the new candidates for initiation came in very nervously and bowed down before Prabhupada. The boy didn't get up. You can get up now, Prabhupada said. So you want to be initiated? The boy said yes and began chanting, not knowing what else to say. I will chant on your beats, Prabhupada said. After chanting for 10 minutes, he returned them saying, "Your name is Aniruddha." "What does that mean?" the boy asked. He is grandson of Krishna. "Do you have any questions?" Aniruddha couldn't think of anything. He had already forgotten his name, and Prabhupada said he could go. So there were various newcomers. They were coming and taking initiation, and there were few incidents happening. Later Prabhupada called for Aniruddha, like this was a new disciple whom he initiated. He just called his name, but this disciple already has forgotten his name. So Kirtanananda just pointed out to him that you are Aniruddha, Prabhupada is calling you, please go. So similarly, Prabhupada has initiated another new disciple named Uddhava. And the next day, as Prabhupada was sitting in the yard, he called Kirtanananda, Upendra, and this new disciple Uddhava. He wanted to read a verse while studying Srimad Bhagavatam. Kirtanananda and Upendra came and sat at Prabhupada's feet, and Prabhupada was searching for Uddhava. So Upendra told him that Uddhava had gone up to hills to look at the cows and chant to them. Upendra thought that Swamiji would be pleased to hear that his new disciple had climbed the hills just to chant to the cows. But Prabhupada shook his head unhappily. Restlessness he had wanted new boy to hear the verse. So Prabhupada was expecting to teach this new verse to the new devotee. So here Prabhupada is telling like I just will recite this verse. Jayati Jayati Devo Devaki Nandano Sau Jayati Jayati Krishno Vrishni Vamsha Pradeepaha Jayati Jayati Mega Shamala Komalango Jayati Jayati Prithvi Bharanaso Mukunda. So Prabhupada is just explaining the translation for this verse. All glories to Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as the son of Devaki. All glories to Supreme Personality of Godhead, the light of the Vrishni dynasty. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose bodily luster is like that of a new cloud and whose body is as soft as lotus flowers. All glories to Supreme Personality of Godhead, who walks on the planet Earth to deliver the world from a scorn of demons and who can offer liberation to everyone. After repeating the Sanskrit and the translation, he told them they could return to their duties. Prabhupada told Kirtanananda he had definitely decided to go to India via New York as soon as possible. Kirtanananda packed Swamiji's things and drew Swamiji down to San Francisco to spend the night at the temple. They would leave next morning. So now everything has been set. Prabhupada has told him like which way he will be going. He will be going through New York to India. So the Kirtanananda, who is an intimate disciple of Prabhupada, he has started packing for his travel to India. So they decided to stay in the San Francisco, since they are in Stinson Beach. They decided to stay in the temple for one night. And then that night Prabhupada will be initiating as many newcomers as possible, and the next day he will be going back to India. That's the plan. So the temple so Kirtanananda has packed everything and they are ready to go to the temple next morning. The temple and even Prabhupada's apartment were very hectic that night, with many devotees and guests wanting to see Prabhupada and dozens of people wanting initiation. When Kirtanananda advised Prabhupada not to exert himself, Kirtanananda did not want Prabhupada to take a lot of stress sitting for long and initiating all the devotees. But Prabhupada insisted that he wanted to initiate as many devotees as possible. So Prabhupada, he entered the storefront. The devotees immediately stopped their kirtana, dropping down to offer obeisances. There was a hush. He commanded a new reverence. This might be the last time they would see him. They watched him during the kirtana as he played his kartala, singing with them for the last time. The uninitiated wanted to accept him as a spiritual master tonight before it was too late. So all the uninitiated people, they wanted to get initiated before night, since Prabhupada will be leaving next day morning. Srila Prabhupada asked for the microphone. So when Prabhupada came to this storefront where the devotees were doing kirtana, they did not expect that Prabhupada will speak, but he started he started to speak. He just he wanted to give a message to all the disciples there actually. So he started. No one was expecting. Even Kirtanananda, who was very intimate and who had all he was close, and he had the right to say, Prabhupada, please don't speak or take rest or something. He also kept quiet, since this was last time all the disciples will be seeing Prabhupada. So this is what Prabhupada said. Prabhupada spoke quietly about his mission. Under the order of his spiritual master, he was bringing Lord Chaitanya's movement to America. And Krishna had kindly sent him so many sincere souls. I have a few children in India from my family days. He said, but you are my real children. Now I am going to India for a little while. Everyone fixed their attention on Swamiji as he sat before them, leaning against the madras covered wall, speaking softly. Suddenly the door opened, and this one of the disciple, Ravindra Swarupa, he entered unhappily. He is not a satisfied devotee. He is one such devotee who just wanted like he wants to go to Godhead without any doing any devotion. So he hadn't taken his initiation move seriously. He wanted to move on. He didn't want a spiritual master anymore. The other devotees had discouraged him, but he had persisted. They were incredulous. How could he do such a thing on a night before Swamiji's departure? So all these disciples were thinking like, how this Ravindra Swarupa could do like this? Why he's behaving this way? So he just fell to the floor to offer obeisances, but he didn't rise up. Instead, he began crawling on his hands and knees towards Prabhupada. Ravindra usually had a cavalier manner, enhanced by handsome face, long tousled hair, and a beard. But now he was wretched and sobbing and crazy. He crawled toward Prabhupada, who sat but 2 steps off the floor on the simple redwood dais. Prabhupada looked at him with compassion. Come here, my boy. Ravindra crawled up the steps and placed his bushy head on Prabhupada's lap. The devotees watched as Prabhupada stroked Ravindra's head, and the boy cried and cried. So, however, maybe the behavior of the devotees, the compassion that Prabhupada showed to them is like immense. He has been very compassionate. What's wrong, my son? You don't have to be so unhappy. Ravindra bawled out. I want, he said, he sobbed, reach God directly without anyone in between. Prabhupada continued to pat and stroke the boy's head. No, you continue to stay with us if possible. Don't be a crazy fellow. Ravindra's weeping subsided, and Prabhupada continued speaking both to Ravindra and to the emotion-struck group in the room. I am I'm an old man. I'm an old man, he said. I may die in any moment, but please, you all carry on. This Sankirtana moment. You have to become humble and tolerant. As Lord Chaitanya says, be as humble as blade of the grass and more tolerant than a tree. This is very nice teaching by Srila Prabhupada. He is explaining, he's teaching his devotees, like you should be as humble as the blade of the grass. He's this is the last time. It means Prabhupada is thinking this might be my last days with my disciples, so he want to instruct them as much as possible, and he's just giving this message of Lord Chaitanya, that how we should be humble as the blade of the grass and tolerant as a tree. You must have enthusiasm and patience to push on this Krishna consciousness philosophy. That is what Prabhupada has shown. He had lot of patience, tolerance, he was so humble that is why all these disciples, he could make all these disciples, and he could form this international Krishna consciousness. He himself is an example to explain this teaching of Lord Chaitanya actually. So suddenly Ravindra's tears were gone. He jumped up dejectedly, stood hesitating for a moment, and then hurried out the door, banging it behind him. Ravindra Swarupa's dramatic exit from Krishna consciousness shocked the devotees. Prabhupada sat still and continued speaking to them gravely, asking them to stick together and push on the movement for their own benefit and for others. Whatever they had learned, he said they should repeat. They realized perhaps for the first time that they were part of preaching mission, a movement. They were together not just for good times and good vibrations. They had a loving obligation to Swamiji and Krishna. So even though one of this devotee had behaved very weirdly, Prabhupada told all other devotees to stick together, to be united and take this movement forward. And all of them realized that they were in a preaching mission, and they had they are indebted to Prabhupada, and they need to do service to Prabhupada by spreading this Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada returned to his apartment, which soon became chaotic. It was late. Many people wanted initiation. Mukunda, Jayananda, and other temple leaders tried to determine which candidates were sincere. They selected candidates half a dozen at a time and allowed them to Prabhupada's room. So this is all all the devotees were getting initiated one by one, and Jayananda and Kirtanananda, they selected more Mukunda and Jayananda. They have been selecting the candidates who are more sincere to get first initiated, and the others will be getting initiated later through mails. So that's what here it was. So John Carter, he was one of the new disciple who wanted to get initiated. So he was skeptic whether he would get initiated by Prabhupada that day, because there were so many people on the list. So he went to Jayananda and Mukunda, telling them that he also wants to get initiated, and they could put his name on the list. So Mukunda said okay, and he has put his name on the list. But by the time the initiation was completed, his name was not called. So this person was totally dejected, and he went out of the temple, and he was about now Prabhupada will never come back, and I will not get any chance to talk to him, and I'll not get initiated, as he's in the excuse me, he's so sick, and I don't know whether he will be sending the initiation through email or through the mail also. So my life has no meaning now. he wanted to go and do suicide, but again he thought like, no, I will turn ghost if I do suicide. Then one thing came in mind, that there is one more person they might call, so let me go back and take a chance and go back. So he comes back to temple, and there is this one lady there. Oh. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji. We cannot see the screen. It went blank. Hare Krishna. Mataji, can you hear me? Hare Krishna. Other devotees, can you hear me?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, Mataji. I think Mataji's screen got frozen.
Yeah, Mataji got frozen. Maybe internet. Yeah, we can wait.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji got disconnected.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, in 2 minutes, Mataji will be joining.
I'm sorry, there was some disconnection. I'll share my screen. Mataji, can you make me the host to share the screen, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Mataji, I gave you.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Mataji. So we were discussing like one of the disciple who was totally dejected, like he will never be initiated by Prabhupada. He came back, and luckily there was this one of the disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and this disciple who was dejected, he was about to cry also, like I will be never be initiated and all, but he came back, and suddenly one of the devotee, she reached the Harsa Rani, her name is Harsa Rani. So she grabbed this new John Carter's hand, and she took him to Prabhupada, just knocked his door, and she took him to his room. And Prabhupada was amazed, and she said, "You need to initiate this boy, Prabhupada." And Prabhupada really laughed at her, and this guy, he was about to cry. So Prabhupada said, "Don't cry, don't worry," and he just chanted on the beats, and he handed over the japa beads to this guy, and he named him Jivananda. The next morning, Prabhupada had to leave his affectionate followers. Several cars filled with devotees accompanied him to San Francisco airport. Nandarani, she is also one of the disciple of Srila Prabhupada. So she is telling, somewhere sincere, and so while we know, like the someone very loud who has taken care of us so nicely, who has brought a transformation in us, and who had been like showing a path to us, who has been a guide to us. If that person is leaving, obviously we had a lot of dependency on him, so we'll be missing that person. And Srila Prabhupada was so compassionate, and such an exemplary guru. So when these disciples, they realized that Prabhupada is now leaving, like most of them started to cry while he was departing, actually. So that is what they have been mentioning. So one of the disciples, her name is Janaki, she was little bit mischievous, so she stole the ticket of Srila Prabhupada and the passport, and she said that now you can't go to India. So Prabhupada smiled and said, I already have my boarding ticket. I am an Indian. They will let me into my own country. Prabhupada turned to his adoring followers, gathered close around him at the boarding gate. Actually, I have only one desire, and whoever does this will please me very much. Now I have a temple in New York, in Montreal, and a temple in San Francisco, but I do not have any temple in Los Angeles. So Prabhupada wants someone to, build a temple there, establish a temple there, and spread the Krishna consciousness. He told them to remain in Krishna consciousness and to please continue to preach. They watched as he turned and walked through the gate, his cane, and walked through the gate. His cane in one hand, boarding pass in the other. In New York, there was hardly time for sadness. Srila Prabhupada telegraphed his Krishna Pandit, Sri Krishna Pandit. So Krishna Pandit is one of his somebody related to Prabhupada and the Krishna Conscious Mission. So he informed him about his arrival at Delhi, and what he would do, he will be taking treatment. He will be staying for some days in Delhi. He will be taking treatment for his heart stroke, and then he will be going back to Vrindavan. He was very eager to go to Vrindavan, actually. So he explained this to this person called Sri Krishna Pandit. So the day before his departure, Prabhupada wrote to Srimati Muraji Desai also, in reply to his last letter, he has written a letter, right, to Srimati Muraji Desai, that he wants to bring his disciples so that his mission will not stop in between, and he wants to train them and send all around the world so that this Krishna conscious mission spreads throughout the world. But Srimati Muraji Desai, she replied that since she has helped him to send him to USA, she is ready to bring him back. It's her duty to bring him back to the country, and since he was in bad health also, so she was okay to bring Prabhupada in, but she was not okay with his passengers. Like, she would not sponsor his passengers for free to travel in the ship. So this was her reply to Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada, getting this reply, he was not dejected. He even though he's going to India, he can go and reply her, but still he tried to reply back her, writing a letter, like what he was feeling. So on July 20, Prabhupada wrote, I'm feeling too much to return to Vrindavan, to the lotus feet of Vrindavana, Bhake Bihari, Lord Krishna, and therefore I have decided to return to India immediately. I would have liked to return via sea. So as you have so kindly offered me passage in your letter, but in my precarious state of health, that is not possible. So by the mercy of Krishna and through one friend here, somehow or other I have received air passage, and I am expecting to leave here for New Delhi on Saturday next, reaching the Palam airport on 24th. So he's mentioning about all the details, like when he will be reaching India and all to her in the letter, to Srimati Muraji Desai in the letter. I can understand that at present you cannot allow free passage to my disciples, but if you don't do so, at least in the near future, then my mission will be half finished or failure. I'm just enclosing one letter of appreciation for one of my principal students from Professor Davis Heron, and another from Professor Roberts of New York University. I think these letters will convince you how much my movement of Krishna consciousness is taking ground in the Western world. The holy name of Hare Krishna is now being chanted not only in this country but also England, Holland, Mexico, that I know of. It may be even more widespread. I have sent you one gramophone record, which I hope you may have received by this time. You will enjoy to learn how Krishna's holy name is being appreciated by the Western world. So Prabhupada, when Srimati Muraji Desai, she told that she could not sponsor a free ticket for his disciples. So Prabhupada explained, you might not be sponsoring at this point of time, but I'm expecting at least in near future you might sponsor. If not, then my mission will be half done. Okay, and it might be a failure also. Excuse me. I'm just so he is telling, he is providing various appreciation letters, like how Krishna conscious movement has taken a momentum here in Western world, and how people are appreciating to join this movement, and how they are enthusiastic to join this movement, and how Krishna conscious movement has spread to various countries. And he has also sent a gramophone recording of their Krishna conscious movement. So he has mentioned all these things to her in the letter. So one of the disciples, Achyutananda, told Prabhupada he wanted to go to India to study intensively, gather experience, and become attached to Krishna. He had heard Prabhupada say that one could become more Krishna conscious in 2 days in Vrindavana than in 10 years in America. Do you think I will be able to go? Achyutananda asked. Rest assured, Prabhupada told him, we will meet again in Vraja. Devotees had been asking Satswarupa to transfer his civil service job to Boston and open a Krishna conscious center there. They had also asked Rupanuga to do the same in Buffalo. Satswarupa and Rupanuga approached Prabhupada to find out what he wanted. He became very pleased. So the other devotees wanted two of the devotees like Rupanuga and Satswarupa to start Krishna conscious centers in Boston and Buffalo. And Prabhupada agreed for that. Like these two disciples checked with Prabhupada, and he was happy and he agreed for that. Like they can start these new centers, so that the Krishna conscious movement will be spread at a faster rate. But Subala was going to open a center in Santa Fe. He said, and Dayananda was going to Los Angeles. So here there is a mention of few of the devotees, like who will be going in which place, and who will be spreading the Krishna conscious in which place. the devotees wanted to ask, but what if you don't return? So the devotees have this question in the mind, that what if Prabhupada never returns back to Western world? They were fearful. What if Krishna kept Swamiji in Vrindavana? What if Swamiji never returned? How could they survive against Maya? But Swamiji had already assured them that whatever Krishna consciousness he had given them would be enough, even if he never returned. So Swamiji assured them that whatever Srila Prabhupada has taught them till now, that is enough for them to continue in the Krishna consciousness. Just 30 minutes before he had to leave for the airport, Prabhupada sat in his room chanting on the beats of a girl and had asked to be initiated. Then, as he had done many times before, he left his apartment, went downstairs, crossed the courtyard, and entered the storefront. Sitting on the old carpet, he spoke quietly and personally. I may be going, but Guru Maharaj and Bhakti Vinoda are here. He looked towards the paintings of his spiritual master and Bhakti Vinoda Thakura. I have asked them to kindly take care of all of you, my spiritual children. So he is just speaking to personally to himself that my Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati and Bhakti Vinoda Thakura are here to always bless you and guide you. And they will take care of all of you. That's what he is thinking about his disciples. The grandfather always takes care of the children much better than the fathers, so do not fear. So Prabhupada is comparing his Guru Maharaj as grandfathers of all these disciples, and he's mentioning that grandfather would take much more care than a father would take care of their children. There is no question of separation. The sound vibration fixes us up together, even though the material body may not be there. What do we care for this material body? What do we care for this material body? Just go on chanting Hare Krishna and we will be packed up together. You will be chanting here and I will be chanting there, and this vibration will circulate around this planet. So Prabhupada just told him, you just chant on this side of the world and I will be chanting on that side of the world, and our chanting will keep on circulating this planet. Like the vibrations will go on throughout the planet. So this is what he was explaining to his disciples. Several devotees rode with Prabhupada. So few of the devotees, they went along with Prabhupada in taxis to airport. They rode with him. So Kirtanananda in the back beside their spiritual so few of his devotees, Brahmananda was sitting in front along with the driver Rai Rama, and Kirtanananda was sitting along with Srila Prabhupada in the back seat. And Kirtanananda sees Vrindavana. Prabhupada said, he will not be able to understand how I could have left that place and come to this place. When Kirtanananda says, so Prabhupada said he will not be able to understand. Okay, so Prabhupada here he's explaining, he's telling Kirtanananda, like when Kirtanananda would see Vrindavana, right? Then he will realize, Kirtanananda will realize that how Prabhupada could come from Vrindavana to this place. That means Prabhupada wants to convey to Kirtanananda that Vrindavan is such a beautiful place that once you go there, you would never want to come back here to the Western world. So it is so nice. There are no motor cars there. So we all know, right? In Vrindavana, there are no vehicles. There are no, modern gadgets. They're not using anything, and everything is like eco-friendly. Everything is as usual as our olden days. So it's really very and the nature, everything there in Vrindavana is very, still preserved. The culture and everything, it's still preserved. So that's what Prabhupada is mentioning here. Brahmananda began to cry and Prabhupada patted him on the back. I can understand that you are feeling separation, he said. I'm feeling for my Guru Maharaj. I think this is what Krishna desires. You may be coming there to me and be training up and will spread this movement all over the world. Rai Rama, you will go to England. Brahmananda, you want to go to Japan or Russia? That's all. So Prabhupada was just discussing, you people might be coming there to Raja, where I will be setting up an American house. You people will be getting trained, and after that, you'll be going to different countries. That's what Prabhupada is mentioning here. The devotees converged on the Air India waiting room near a crowded cocktail lounge. Wearing sweater, his chadara folded neatly over one shoulder, Prabhupada sat in a chair. His disciples sat as close as possible around his feet. He held an umbrella just as when he had first come alone to New York almost 2 years ago. Although exhausted, he was smiling. Okay, so since Prabhupada was having he was little bit unwell because of his heart attack, still he was enthusiastic, and he was uh, he was having all his accessories whatever required for his travel, and he was having a nice smile on his face. Prabhupada noted a mural of Indian women carrying large jars on their heads, and he called the name of a young girl who had recently gone with her husband Hamsaduta to join the ISKCON Center in Montreal. Himawati, would you like to go to India and learn to carry this water pot like the Indian woman? And the lady, she replied, yes, she said, I will go. Yes, Srila Prabhupada said, someday we will all go. Kirtanananda was carrying a portable battery operated phonograph and 2 copies of Hare Krishna mantra record. Kirtanananda Prabhupada asked, why not play the record? So Prabhupada asked to play the record so that all the devotees and everyone will enjoy listening the recordings. Kirtananda played the record very softly. It's sound catching. So as they played this, so people started to enjoy, and they started to move on the beats of the songs, and they started to sing loudly. They started to sing along, and other people also joined singing along with the devotees. So Hamsaduta, one of the disciple of Srila Prabhupada, I was sitting right next to Swamiji, and all the time I was thinking, oh, my spiritual master is going to India, and he said, I want to die in Vrindavan. We all knew Swamiji was going, but now it was the last moment. I was also seeing that I hadn't done anything for my spiritual master. He doesn't even know who I am, I thought. There's no relationship. So Hamsaduta was feeling a little bit dejected that he's always there with Swamiji, but he don't know whether Swamiji has noticed him or not. And he was feeling, bad that he could not do anything for Srila Prabhupada. And he was feeling like whether really I do have any relationship with my Guru Maharaj or not. I must do something. I must do something now. I must serve him in some way which will establish some place in his heart. Something I was thinking, what can I do? I was crying, and I didn't even look at, and he didn't even look at me. It was like I wasn't even there. The kirtana went on. The kirtana was getting heavier and heavier, and so was the crying. And the people in the waiting room were just looking at Swamiji like he was someone very special. And in the middle of it all, in the middle of it all, Swamiji was completely relaxed, as if this were his place, and this was just a normal thing to do. When the record ended, Hamsaduta asked Swamiji, "Can I take a collection?" So we all know, like ISKCON, this most of the times, like we will be the total mission is being run on charities, right? So at that time also, to establish this international Krishna conscious our association. We like there were lot of charities gathered, and through that only this mission was getting momentum, and the Krishna consciousness was being spread. So this devotee Hamsaduta, since there were so many other people around, so he just went to Prabhupada and asked, so should I ask for collection, like for funding or for donations from the people around? So Prabhupada said, why not? So then he started gathering some money, so that it will be helpful for the mission. So then it was time for Prabhupada to board the plane. Prabhupada embraced each of his men. They stood in a line, and one after another approached him and embraced him. He patted a few of the women on the head. Rupanuga Swamiji was embracing the men. Kirtanananda, Brahmananda, Gargamuni. I never expected that he would ask me to step forward. Rupanuga is one more disciple. So what he was thinking is that Kirtanananda, Brahmananda, Gargamuni, these are more intimate disciples to Prabhupada, and I'm nowhere near to them. So he was thinking like that. So Swamiji mentioned to me and spoke my name. So suddenly Prabhupada mentioned his name, Rupanuga, and he was a little bit surprised. He just walked to Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada embraced him. And at that point of time, this disciple was feeling so happy, like he had got a lifetime achievement, something like that. So I embrace. So this disciple is mentioning, I embraced Srila Prabhupada, and that embrace was the most memorable embrace of my life. Right away, I noticed Srila Prabhupada's strength. He was so strong. It was like embracing a young man, a man of my age. I was 27, and he seemed even stronger and younger than I. And he hugged me tightly, and I also embraced him very firmly. He was smaller than me in stature, so I instinctively buried my chin in the hollow of his left shoulder. While I was embracing him, I felt very blissful and felt a light. I felt there was a light, something bright and pure, some kind of energy emanating from my face. I opened my eyes and I saw Kirtanananda watching. He was standing behind Swamiji, a few feet away, and I looked right into his eyes, and I was so happy and blissful that it reflected in him somehow. He broke into a big smile, and smiled at me, and his eyes were very bright. It was as if some spiritual energy was actually emanating from me. That airport scene was a very important part of my life, because for me, a person who always had difficulty in loving another person, Swamiji's leaving forced out a lot of love from my heart. I didn't even know that love was there in my heart. It's like becoming a spiritual person when you feel love really developing for the spiritual master. I was becoming spiritual person. So this devotee Rupanuga, when he embraced his spiritual master, then he felt like it was really, he felt something different. He felt that love for a spiritual master, and he was really feeling happy. I was becoming a spiritual person. It was a tremendous outpouring of feelings of separation and grief at his departure. So at that time, when Prabhupada embraced him, and when he was leaving, he was feeling that separation. At that point of time, he felt love for his spiritual master. It was a tremendous outpouring feelings of separation and grief at his departure, because we all knew he was our life and soul. And to a person none of us were sure we would ever see him again. Accompanied by Kirtanananda, whose head was shaven, and who wore a incongruous black woolen suit, Prabhupada walked slowly towards the gate. Yeah, as he disappeared from view, the devotees ran for the observation deck to get a last look at his departing plane. A gentle rain was washing the airfield as the devotees raced across the wet observation deck. There below were Prabhupada and Kirtanananda walking towards their plane. Abandoning decorum, the devotees began to shout, Prabhupada, Prabhupada, and Prabhupada turned and waved. So the people, they just lost their decorum. They did not even realize like where they were, like, where the devotees were. They were in airport. They did not even realize that. And this, all these devotees, the disciples, they shouted. And then Prabhupada just turned towards them and he just waved his hand. Yeah, then Prabhupada, he climbed the movable stairways, turning again at the top and raising his arms, and then entered the plane. The devotees chanted wildly while the boarding steps moved away. The door closed and the plane began to turn. The devotees had pressed close to the rail, but they pulled back as the jet exhaust blasted them with heat. With a great roar, the Air India jet lights blinking taxied out of the runway. The devotees continued to chant Hare Krishna until the plane left the ground, became a speck in the sky, and then disappeared. Hare Krishna. So this is the end of this chapter. So our Srila Prabhupada has happily boarded the flight, and all the devotees were still feeling that separation from Srila Prabhupada. So here comes the end of this 26th chapter, Departure of Prabhupada. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Commendable presentation, Mataji. Amazing.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
It takes so much effort to make these beautiful slides and present every little portion of this chapter. You took so much effort to cover it and complete.
Mataji, I want to
Thank you so much, Mataji.
I'm sorry for interrupting. Mataji, I'm sorry for interrupting you. These slides actually I took from one of the lecture of our Jivan Gaur Prabhuji. He is like, he will be coming and giving us that, all the lectures on various places, right? Vrindavan and everything. Our Jivan Gaur Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji. Yes,
yeah,
Mataji.
I took these slides from his lecture, and I my heartfelt gratitude to Prabhuji. He made such nice slides, and it was really useful. Thanks a lot.
Amazing, Mataji. Really, really amazing. Thank you so much. I really like many aspects of what you spoke. You really detailed every little point in the chapter. Especially the Jagannath Rath Yatra, that portion was very beautiful, and how Srila Prabhupada was remembering the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya when the Rath cart had to be pushed and it stopped, and all that, all those little details that you mentioned, that was very beautiful. How he reciprocated with each and every devotee, and how one of the devotees, like Rupanuga, towards the end, you were telling, he was feeling, like he's not qualified, but then Prabhupada called him out. And then even initially asking everyone to chant, how he started off 64, then 32, then 16, like that. So beautiful, Mataji. Thank you so much. It was a very, very meditative session. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Actually, hearing all of you, Mataji, that only inspired me. That's all.
Hari.
I only stopped, Mataji. I want to see like this. That's why I stopped the screen. Mataji, very, very beautiful presentation, Mataji. So much hard work and so such a long time you are speaking. You are not losing the enthusiasm, did not even take a break. So beautiful, Mataji. Such a long presentation. It shows so much of love for Srila Prabhupada, Mataji. and very detailed explanation of whole chapter. I really like what that Mataji, I don't know which Mataji, I told the name, but I forgot who hided the passport, right? It was so nice.
Janaki Mataji.
Janaki Mataji, yeah, they don't want Prabhupada to leave, and so much of love and affection they had for Prabhupada. And Prabhupada's answer was so nice, I'm the citizen of India, I can easily go. If you asked, hide also it doesn't work. Very nice, Mataji, such a beautiful class. You were sharing your realizations in between, how you liked the Rath Yatra here.
Yes, Mataji.
And for the first time, you saw the Rath Yatra in US only. Yes, me also. I mean, I've seen, but not such a beautiful Rath Yatra that I've seen in the US for the first time. It was so nice, Mataji. Yeah, and that too in the main roads of the America. Like, I never expected like they do in such a way, like in the big roads, and everybody were dancing. Even Americans were joining into the Rath Yatra. That was so nice. New Orleans.
And it was my first time, and first time only I got the chance to serve the devotees also. That also, that satisfaction is very nice, Mataji. We do some preparation for the Lord. That is like, we are preparing the Mahaprasadam for the Lord. That is great opportunity actually. That's what I felt.
Yeah, yes, Mataji, so true, so true. Very beautiful presentation, Mataji. Thank you so much for your all hard work. Hari bol.
Thank you, Mataji. Thanks for giving me this opportunity, Mataji. Thank you.
Hari bol, Mataji. So we have comments here, Mataji, in the chat. So Shivani Mataji is saying,
thank you, Shivani Mataji. Thank you, Lalitangi Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeshumati Mataji.
Thank you, Yeshumati Mataji.
Beautiful class. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Is there anybody who would like to share their realizations, comments for Mataji?
Yeah, yes, Mataji, please share your realizations, Mataji. If I missed anything and you people have anything to share, please do mention, Mataji.
Vrinda Gopika Mataji, you have unmuted, but we can't hear you.
Hare Krishna beta, Danvat Pranam, Koti Koti Danvat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki Jai, Gopinath ki Jai. Jai ho Gopinath ki, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. You explained so nicely that we can see, visualize. हम तो ऐसे qualified nahi hai, but we can see the visualize all that leelas you explain, Mataji. It is touch to heart. It's too late, so I cannot explain all the leelas, but I take only 2 minutes. You explain about the that is touch to heart, that in this Kali Yuga, my brother came before 10 days. He's working in a very big post, but in so much anxiety that I cannot see. He's like my father. And in this anxiety time, when we are engage ourselves in Krishna conscious, we forgot everything and we show devotee by making Jagannath Prasadam or any seva, whatever Lord Krishna and Srimati Shri Radharani is given to us. So that we get happiness only by we engage ourselves in the Krishna conscious. That is touch to heart, Mataji. And you explain about Srila Prabhupada, Kirtanananda, वो बहुत जब बीमार थे तभी कीर्तनानंदा उनकी हार्ट अटैक आया था, तभी उनकी मसाज करते थे. Then you explain about the initiation, then Rath Yatra time, that lotus feet of God, Rath Yatra make people devotee. Why all devotee? Why we are doing Rath Yatra? To make a to give a Krishna conscious to Vaishnava, to the people. And you explain about the and take them to back to Godhead. And Shri Jagannath Yatra, Jagannath Prabhuji is doing वो एकदम ऊपर ऊपर खुद का मार के वो करताल प्ले कर रहे थे. एंड सब माता जी और ऑरेंजिंग ऑरेंज एप्पल बनाना रथ में से. तो माता जी ये एटलांटा की जगन्नाथ रथ यात्रा 3 दिन की होती है, तो याद करा दिया आपने. एंड कीर्तनानंदा इज बिजी टू prepare prasadam, and Mukunda and Haridas, Harigriva are playing harmonium, and Matajis are making chapatis, and you explain about the truck is not walking. I have seen in Shishi by mercy of Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev in Shishi Jagannath Rath Yatra Mataji, when Shishi Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ji वो रिवर से जा रहा था, तो Srila Prabhupada is smiling because he know and Srila Prabhupada, when Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ji touched the Rath of Shri Jagannath, Balram, Subhadrani, then he started. So you take us in a Shri Jagannath Puri Dham, and yesterday Aji Lal Govind Prabhu ji in the evening time given a class that this Srila Prabhupada, H.H. Jayapataka Maharaj, H.H. Radhanath Maharaj, H.H. Bhakti Charu Maharaj, H.H. Niranjan Maharaj, H.H. Chandramauli Maharaj is not an ordinary personality. They are manjaris from, they came here to give a Krishna conscious, and they teach us the lesson that how much difficulties they are passing in this material world. So when more and more difficulties come, we become more and more sincere in our bhakti. And then you explain about the anxiety, I already explained, and then you explain about the Subala and Balbhadra, yes, I already explained, Mataji. Prabhupada is very satisfied by Guru Maharaj, Bhaktivinoda Thakur service, and in this age people wants to stay in Shridham Vrindavan Dham, and be honest, from last 5 years before that, enter in Shridham Vrindavan Dham, not able to enter in Shridham Vrindavan Dham. So that I hear from H.T. Adhikadada Prabhu that wherever you are staying, and when you hear Srila Prabhupada Amrita or Shri Bhagavatam, Shri Bhagavad Gita, that place is Shridham Vrindavan. So you take us in a dham, Mataji, and so sincerely explain all the leelas. Don't have much time. Other Mataji has to explain that realization. कोटि कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम. So sincerely Mataji, ऐसे फील होता था एक के बाद एक ऐसे मूवी में जैसे स्लाइड जाती है ना, ऐसे, तो वो आपने एक के बाद एक लीला में लेके गए. श्रील प्रभुपाद अमृता की जय बेटा, कोटि कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम टू योर सिंसियर सेवा. श्रील प्रभुपाद श्रील गुरुदेव की जय, गोपीनाथ की जय. हरे कृष्णा, हरि हरि गौरंगा.
Mataji, in all the classes, you are so sincere. You take so many notes, and you make us revise all the realizations. Thank you, Mataji. Thanks a lot. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Is there any more realizations? Or else we can close the call here. Thank you so much once again, Mataji, for such a beautiful presentation. And thank you everyone for patiently waiting until this time and listening to it. It shows how much love you all have for Srila Prabhupada. And Mataji, your love for Srila Prabhupada is so high, Mataji. Haritha Mataji. Thank you so much.
I'm so sorry that I took so much of time, Mataji. I'm really sorry.
No worries.
Full justice to the chapter. That's what matters, man.
No worries, Mataji. No worries at all.
Thanks a lot to all the Matajis and all the devotees on the call. Thank you for all your patience.
Thank you for your sincere seva, beta. Koti koti dandat pranam to your sincere seva. Hari Hari Gauranga. How sincerely you pick up all the notes.
Yes, Mataji. It shows so the enthusiasm was not stopped. The breath. Such a long, you are speaking, you doesn't speak every time, right? When you speak like that, you'll get the habit to speak continuously. But once in a while speaking, it's such a long time speaking is very great, Mataji.
Yeah.
So great. Wonderful, Mataji. Wonderful.
Yeah.
I would like to offer my obeisances to you and all the Vaishnavas assembled on the call. Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripasindubhya patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta-koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Haritha Mataji ki jai.
And it's all blessings of Prabhupada and Krishna only. They made me speak, Mataji. Nothing is mine. Yeah, they only made me speak.
Jai Srila
Very
Prabhupada.
sweet.
Haritha Gopi.
Dandavat pranam, Shivani Mataji. Thank you for joining in.
Thank you.
Yashmati Mataji, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Closing the call. Hari Bol.